Here is the 2024 Nissan Rogue SV in deep ocean blue over charcoal interior. This year, the exterior gets some updates, and in the interior, including technology that will boast the new Google system with up to a 12.3 information display. But will those updates be enough to the comparable rivals? I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and I'm going to go over the pros and cons and the problem that I have with the Rogue, starting up front with the refresh V-Motion grille that integrate into the top part of the LED daytime runnings. With LED low and LED high for your headlamp assembly, the lower bumper gets the matte black. All trims get 8.2 inches of ground clearance, and when you bump it up to the SL, this lower bit that get the matte black, it's going to be the same color as the body. All trims will receive the same 1.5 liter VC turbocharged engine. It's a 3-cylinder that produces 201 horsepower with 225 pound-feet of torque, paired to an Xtronic CVT transmission, achieving 30 mpgs for the city, 37 mpgs for the highway. This is the front-wheel drive configuration. The SL will start with an 18-inch wheel, matte black around the fenders and on the lower skirt. The side view mirror will not get the integrated turn signals. You got to bump it up to the SL, and you'll get puddle lights as well going into the platinum tier. The A-pillar will get the matte black, the SL will get the gloss black, and you'll carry on with the matte black that's going to configure in between the window trims. And now when you're thinking about rivals like Toyota, Honda, Mazda, even Subaru, none of them will have a 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, and all of the rivals will have multiple powertrain configurations. Even some will have hybrid options. But then when you're thinking pricing, this one is going to make a lot more sense because it's going to be the least in class compared to all of those, with towing up to 1,500 pounds, which is basically the same as everybody in its class. So when you're thinking, well, it has a turbocharged 3-cylinder, is it going to be underpowered? Well, the vehicle weighs under 3,750 pounds curb weight. When you're thinking about the rivals, they're going to weigh a little bit more so than this. So it's going to show you that even with the 3-cylinder, you're going to have enough power to get the job done. LED taillights, the lower bumper has been reconfigured with reverse sensors, a reverse camera, and you're getting the matte black that's going to come out. And again, when you go up to the SL, it'll be the same color as the body. So it is something to consider when you're looking at the trims, because it will change some of the styling characteristics to make it look a little bit more sporty. But when you're going into this deep ocean blue, I don't mind the matte black so much. I would have liked to see some gloss black, especially here, because it would have made it look a lot more sporty than pretty much everybody in its class. And the problem that I have with the Rogue is it starts just under 30 grand, which is a great price. But then once you start bumping it up to the SL, you add the premium package, or you go into the platinum tier, you're over $40,000. And yet you're not changing anything for the powertrain, for the suspension. It's the same configuration. You're just getting aesthetics on the exterior, in which most of those are going to be the same on all trims. You'll get some more luxury amenities in the interior, but once I'm starting to go into a $40,000 price point, I'm either wanting to get better MPGs, and in this case, you're going to actually get less. You get better MPGs on the inexpensive trim, or I'm wanting to get hybrid options in which they don't even have a configuration for that. Power liftgate going into 36.5 cubic feet of storage. You're gonna have a storage nook here and here. Underneath the floor gets a spare tire. Otherwise, if you don't have the spare tire, this will be extra storage underneath, and you'll have a 2-tier where you could fold it up. Because I'm tall, I'm gonna split fold the rear bench at the back. Otherwise, you'll have to go into the back door, increasing cargo to over 72 cubic feet of storage. Cloth interior with 10-way power seat adjustment for the driver, 6-way manual adjustment for the passenger. The SL will have 4-way power for the passenger with leather seats and memory for the driver, and standard will be a manual driver seat. Headroom and leg room. The Rogue has a pretty sufficient amount of space for the front occupants. The dash is going to start off with the satin aluminum on the lower trim, and then it comes into the contrast stitching, and I like the luxury appearance that comes out of it with an 8-inch infotainment, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, AM/FM streaming Bluetooth audio, Sirius XM. Put it into reverse, and you get a reverse camera with trajectory that expands out. There's a 12.3 when you bump it up to the SL, and that will give you wireless Apple CarPlay. dual climate control settings. Wireless charging starts on the SL with 2 USB and a 12 volt and the key fob for the Rogue. And I like the slider gear lever that they have with the wood inlay look. And you have the driver mode select that has sport, standard, and eco. When you go up to the SL, you'll get a 12.3 digital gauge reader. But with this one, it's going to be standard, smaller screen, but it'll still go through more or less the same array of information for the driver. Heads-up display that's over 10 inches is only on the Platinum tier. Auto-dimming rear view mirror. No moonroof. It's going to be a little bit more sporty. Opens up into a deep storage pocket. It's just not so wide. And you got a little storage tray here with a full pass-through. Leather wrap steering wheel starts on the SL, and that will also be heated. This is multi-function with the paddle shifts. Dashboard and door panels configured together. And you're going to have soft materials pretty much everywhere where it needs to be. One touch up and down for the driver window with a beverage holder carved out. For the back seats, headroom and leg room. Storage only behind the passenger seat. Third climate control can be an option on the SL. USB ports, air vents, cup holders with armrests, and the door. You can get sunshades that are manual on the SL with a package. It's going to be soft to touch where it needs to be with about the same size storage that's in the front. Sliding into the center, the floor isn't flat, but you actually have your own feet space in this SUV. But leg and shoulder space isn't too bad either, considering this is a smaller SUV. And headroom is more than optimal for somebody at 6'3". 201 horsepower. You're going to get up to speed fine, and the VC turbocharged engine is very unique because it's a variable compression ratio, which means that it will change the compression ratio based on the driver input, allowing a mixture of horsepower and to make it a little bit more fuel efficient. And that is all used by a multi-link system that varies the amount on the piston for the travel. So when you're thinking about what you're getting as a package, this could sip fuel, but it can also be a little bit more of a gas guzzler. So when you are mashing on the gas, you have the hesitation, so it will change and engage. And then it livens up and it's ready to go really quick. So the hesitation will give a little bit more lag than a traditional turbocharged engine. However, you'll have so much more torque pushing you back once it is engaged. So when you're thinking about comparable rivals, none of them are going to have the same type of output whenever you are mashing on the gas. And that's going to take me to some pros and cons. Starting off with my pros, you're still able to tow up to 1,500 pounds. Sitting, you have plenty of room for the front occupants and the rear, plus plenty of storage nooks found throughout the interior of the cabin. The suspension is a smooth ride. The seat comfort is good too. Not a big fan of this infotainment screen coming out of the dash, but I do like the new 12.3 that they have implemented in it. Same thing with the gauge cluster. I'm okay with the tach and odometer being analog. But when you're going into the full 12.3, it's basically the same configuration as this. It's just changing those components into digital. And then as you go up the tier, adding features will put you into a platinum tier without actually getting a platinum, but you'll get almost all the amenities. Plus, you can't even option vented front seats. And when you're in the SV, you don't get heated front seats, nor do you get the third climate control in the back. As for comparable rivals, it's tough because this vehicle just slots over 30 grand. And when you're thinking Honda, Toyota, Mazda, even Subaru, all of those are going to be a lot more expensive examples than this. And this is going to be a lot more luxury boasting in the interior, plus a little bit more sporty on the exterior. It's not going to be as rugged as a Subaru or maybe the Toyota. But if you are comparing it to Honda, you're going to have more soft materials that's found throughout in here. The sound deadening, it's okay. I mean, when you're at just a touch over 30 grand, it's hard to complain about hearing the engine noise coming into the cabin or some of the road noise filtering in. Because let's face it, you got 18-inch wheels on this. Go to the rivals, you're going to pay quite a bit to get something similar to this. And going back to my problem with the turbocharged 3 or the VC turbocharged engine, has problems adding shrapnel in the oil because of that extra linkage that moves, which is going to happen because when you're mashing the gas pedal so hard, it will change the whole drive dynamic. And when it does that, it changes the compression ratio. Then when you're pairing that with the Xtronic CVT transmission, which is also a continuously variable transmission, it's just a lot of variations going hand in hand. Now, it works great in the sense of giving you the power that it needs by the gear ratio. However, for the longevity, you can start seeing where problems can arise. But even if you're thinking about comparable rivals, once you start going hybrid trims, all of them are going to have an electronically controlled variable transmission. And even going into Subaru, you're going to have a CVT transmission. Turn radius is about 1.5 lanes. You're not gonna really rock and roll here. You're gonna just drive it steady. But even not mashing on the gas pedal, you're going to find yourself hitting higher RPMs. And when you look at the gauge cluster, it more or less starts at a 2, and then it starts going a little bit bigger the way they have the tachometer set up, because you're not really hitting a 2 RPM. You're going to be hitting 2.5 to 3 all the time when you drive this vehicle in order to have the momentum to get you to point A to point B. I'm not saying that it feels sluggish, but you will feel some lag because of that multi-link. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like, and I'd like to thank Brandon Nissan for giving us this 2024 Nissan Rogue SV for our car review.